Have you ever wondered what retired Special Forces operators keep hidden in their homes? What secrets, what equipment, what memories they keep buried in the depths of their basements? Denver, Colorado, October 25th, 2024. 600 hours. FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, ATF explosive specialists, and Colorado State Police SWAT team surrounded the isolated log cabin on Lookout Mountain. Target: Marcus Ghost Sullivan, 45 years old, alleged international arms trafficker, 0603 hours. Door breached, flashbang grenades deployed. Federal agents, hands up. Marcus surrendered with hands raised. No resistance, no violence. But what the FBI would discover in this house would shock them to the core of their investigative careers. First discovery: living room, behind the bookshelf. Military grade, secure safe. Contents: 8 different foreign passports, 4 different names, 6 different nationalities. Marcus Sullivan, James Morrison, Michael Stevens, David Reynolds. British, Canadian, Australian, German identities. Second discovery: basement, hidden compartment beneath concrete floor. Contents: HK-416 assault rifles, Glock 19 handguns, ceramic body armor, night vision goggles, C4 plastic explosives, remote detonators, equipment for a private army. Third discovery: home office, encrypted toughbook laptop, satellite communication device, shortwave radio equipment, and 14 cell phones from different countries. Plus, $340,000 in cash in multiple currencies: dollars, euros, pounds, rubles. But the most shocking discovery was the fourth: steel file cabinet containing laminated documents and photographs, handshakes with Taliban leaders, intel gathering in al-Qaeda safe houses, bin Laden compound reconnaissance photos, and secret meetings with ISIS commanders. Marcus Sullivan appeared to have personal relationships with the world's most dangerous terrorists. FBI agent Sarah Martinez, with 15 years of terrorism investigation experience, found her hands trembling as she cataloged the evidence. This was the most comprehensive international arms trafficking operation she'd ever encountered. But something was bothering her. 0645 hours. Marcus Sullivan, in the federal building interrogation room, after being read his Miranda rights, refused to answer initial questions. He said only one thing: call the Pentagon, classification level Yankee White, authorization code Delta 77 Alpha. The FBI agents didn't recognize these codes, but when they ran a computer check, they discovered something. Marcus Sullivan's true identity was encrypted at ultra-secret special access program level in DoD classified databases. And that classification level could only be opened with presidential authorization. That's when the FBI realized this wasn't just an arms trafficking case. This meant declassification of classified operations, government black budgets, and 20-plus years of covert missions. All that criminal evidence in Marcus Sullivan's house was actually physical proof of his decades-long deep cover operations. Delta Force, JSOC, SOCOM, CIA liaison, and the classification level was so deep that even the FBI didn't have access authorization. Marcus Sullivan wasn't just an international arms dealer. He was one of America's most classified operators, and every piece of equipment, every document, every foreign contact in his house was evidence of impossible missions he'd carried out for his country for 20 years. And now, the FBI's investigative overzealousness was about to expose the deepest secrets of national security. Welcome to Human Stories. Before we continue with this explosive tale of classified operations colliding with federal law enforcement, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from today? And if you believe these stories of the hidden warriors who protect America deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. The interrogation room at the Denver Federal Building had hosted thousands of suspects over the years, but FBI Special Agent Sarah Martinez had never encountered anyone quite like Marcus Sullivan. For 6 hours, he'd sat in complete silence, hands folded calmly on the metal table, responding to every question with the same 4 words: call the Pentagon, now. Agent Martinez had seen every type of suspect: terrified first-timers, cocky repeat offenders, lawyers who talked too much, and career criminals who said nothings. But Marcus Sullivan was different. He wasn't nervous, wasn't angry, wasn't trying to negotiate. He sat with the calm patience of someone who'd been in much worse situations and knew exactly how this would end. Mr. Sullivan, Agent Martinez tried again, we found enough weapons in your house to outfit a small army. We have evidence of multiple identities, international financial transactions, and photographs that suggest contact with known terrorist organizations. This is your opportunity to explain yourself. Marcus looked at her with eyes that seemed to assess threat levels out of habit. Agent Martinez, with respect, you don't have the clearance level to hear my explanation. The codes I gave you 6 hours ago should have resolved this situation. The fact that I'm still sitting here suggests a communication breakdown that's above both our pay grades. Agent Martinez's partner, Agent James Korean, leaned forward aggressively. Listen, pal, we don't care about your military service or whatever games you think you're playing. We have evidence of federal crimes, multiple federal crimes. Marcus's expression didn't change. Agent Korean, the evidence you found represents 23 years of service to this country in capacities that you are not authorized to know about. Every weapon, every document, every photograph in my possession is government property that I'm legally authorized to retain under specific provisions of my separation agreement. Separation agreement from what? Agent Martinez asked. That information is classified, Marcus replied simply. The door to the interrogation room opened, and Assistant Director Robert Chen entered, looking unusually tense. Behind him was a woman in a Navy uniform, with eagles on her collar, captain rank, and another man in civilian clothes who carried himself with the authority of someone very high up the federal food chain. Agents Martinez and Korean, step outside, Assistant Director Chen ordered. As the agents filed out, Marcus looked at the Navy captain with recognition. Captain Morrison, it's been a while. Captain Morrison sat down across from Marcus. Hello, Ghost, we have a problem. The civilian, who'd introduced himself only as Mr. Williams from Washington, placed a thick file on the table. Sergeant Major Sullivan, what we have here is a massive breach of operational security caused by an FBI investigation that should never have been initiated. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Should never have been initiated? Based on what? Based on the fact that your address, your aliases, and your operational history are all listed in databases that the FBI should have checked before they kicked down your door, Captain Morrison said. Someone screwed up, badly. Mr. Williams opened the file. The weapons they found? All legally assigned to you for post-retirement security purposes. The passports? All official. All issued for operations you conducted between 1999 and 2019. The cash, operational funds that you were authorized to retain. The photographs with terrorist leaders, documentation of intelligence gathering operations that prevented at least 6 major attacks on American soil. Marcus was quiet for a moment. How much of this is going to come out? That depends, Mr. Williams said, on how we handle the next few hours. Agent Martinez is a good investigator. She's already asking questions about why a terrorism suspect is suddenly getting visits from Navy captains and unnamed federal officials. Captain Morrison leaned forward. Ghost, we need to know. Did you tell them anything about your operations? Nothing. I gave them the authorization codes and requested Pentagon contacts 6 hours ago. I've been waiting for this conversation ever since. Good, Mr. Williams said. Here's the situation. The FBI has opened a case file that touches on operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Pakistan, and Yemen. Operations that are still classified at the highest levels. Operations that involved assets who are still in the field. Marcus understood immediately. How bad is the exposure? Potentially catastrophic, Captain Morrison admitted. Your house contained operational materials from missions that officially never happened. If this goes to trial, if discovery processes start pulling classified documents, it would compromise active operations and endanger current assets, Marcus finished. Mr. Williams nodded. Exactly. So we need to resolve this quickly and quietly. Marcus considered this. What do you need from me? We need you to help us craft a cover story that explains everything the FBI found without revealing anything that's actually classified, Mr. Williams said. And we need to make sure that Agents Martinez and Korean understand that pursuing this case further would not be in the national interest. What kind of cover story? Captain Morrison smiled slightly. The truth. Just not all of it. 2 hours later, Marcus found himself back in the interrogation room with Agents Martinez and Korean. But now Assistant Director Chen was present as well, along with Captain Morrison and Mr. Williams. Agents, Mr. Williams began, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the secret level, and you'll need to sign non-disclosure agreements before we proceed. However, it will explain everything you found in Mr. Sullivan's residence. Agent Martinez looked suspicious. What kind of explanation? One was targeting a children's hospital, so yes, it was worth it. And now, I live in a cabin in the mountains, read books, and try to forget some of the things I had to do to get that intelligence. It's a good life. Agent Martinez extended her hand. For what it's worth? I'm sorry we kicked down your door. Marcus shook her hand. Agent Martinez, you were doing your job. The fact that you're good at your job is exactly why this country needs people like you. 3 hours later, Marcus Sullivan was back in his mountain cabin, watching FBI and ATF agents carefully returning the weapons, documents, and equipment they'd seized that morning. Everything was being handled with a level of care and respect that was notably different from the aggressive search conducted 12 hours earlier. Captain Morrison stayed behind after the law enforcement personnel had departed. Ghost, we need to talk about your security situation, she said. This investigation happened because neighbors reported suspicious activity. That suggests your operational security might need some adjusting. Marcus poured himself a cup of coffee. Captain, I've been out for 5 years. I'm not running operations anymore. I'm just trying to live a normal life. Normal life is fine, Captain Morrison said, but you're still carrying classified material. You still have enemies who would love to get their hands on you, and you're still technically subject to recall if the situation demands it. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that Ghost Sullivan might need to disappear more completely. New location, cleaner background, fewer operational materials in the house. Marcus looked around his cabin, the home he'd built with his own hands, the first place he'd lived in 23 years where he hadn't been pretending to be someone else. This is the first place that's ever felt like home, he said quietly. Captain Morrison's expression softened. I understand that, but today proved that even retired ghosts can be found if someone looks hard enough. The question is whether you want to take the risk of being found again. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, thinking about Agent Martinez's question. Had it been worth it? 8 years of pretending to be someone else, 8 years of building relationships with people he knew he might eventually have to kill, 8 years of living with secrets that he couldn't share with anyone. If I relocate, he said finally, what guarantee do I have that this won't happen again? No guarantees, Captain Morrison admitted, but better security protocols, better cover documentation, and a location that's less likely to attract attention from concerned neighbors. Marcus walked to the window and looked out at the mountains that had become his sanctuary. I'll think about it. Don't think too long, Captain Morrison said. Today's incident is going to generate paperwork at levels you don't want to think about. Questions are going to be asked about why a retired JSOC asset was living openly under his real name. Those questions might lead to answers that compromise your retirement status. After Captain Morrison left, Marcus sat alone in his cabin, surrounded by the weapons and equipment that represented 23 years of service to his country. Most of it would never be used again, but keeping it was part of the deal he'd made when he retired. Insurance against the possibility that the enemies he'd made during those 8 years undercover might someday find him. Today, it hadn't been enemies who'd found him. It had been the FBI acting on a neighbor's report about suspicious activity. In trying to live a normal life, he'd apparently failed to be normal enough. He thought about Agent Martinez's question again. Was it worth it? 6 terrorist attacks prevented. Hundreds, maybe thousands of lives saved. Children who got to grow up because schools weren't bombed. Families who stayed together because hospitals weren't attacked. Yes, it had been worth it. But now he had to decide whether the life he'd built in retirement was worth the risk of exposure or whether it was time for Ghost Sullivan to disappear one more time. He picked up his secure satellite phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in 2 years. Relocation services, a voice answered. This is Ghost, Marcus said. I need to discuss options. Understood. How urgent? Marcus looked around his cabin one more time. Very urgent. Some warriors retire to lives of recognition and comfort. Others disappear into the shadows they emerged from, carrying their secrets and their service into anonymity. Marcus Sullivan had tried the middle path, partial anonymity, partial normal life. Today had proven that middle paths don't work for ghosts. Tomorrow, he would begin the process of disappearing completely, taking with him the classified memories of 8 years spent among America's enemies and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that his service had protected innocent lives. Ghost Sullivan would vanish. The man who replaced him would be someone else entirely. Someone with no operational history, no classified materials, and no suspicious neighbors. But wherever he went, Whatever name he used, he would carry with him the knowledge that some secrets are worth protecting, even if it means sacrificing the simple pleasure of living openly in a cabin in the mountains. The mission never really ends. It just changes form.